I'm Deb Helfrich, hashtag Redheaded She-Hulk. This is my one-woman improv persona and performance that you're joining me with here. I'm also the founder of hashtag Wellbeing Philosophy. Think about it. Philosophy is really nothing but the academic study of thinking about thinking. And we think about ethics, we think about epistemology, we think about metaphysics. And there's a bunch of old white men from the lineage of the Greeks that didn't quite understand the concept that we're all one species. They really didn't. Now, I call myself the she-Socrates of the 2020s. I really do think that as soon as I find my Plato, who I do hope will be a Black man, that we can partner and create a think tank, which I like to pivot to a think bike, an eco-friendly, human-powered thinking vehicle that spreads I can't say common sense. Just the words fail us these days. Like everything has been turned left, right, and center, and words have four meanings, and we're arguing while we're not even establishing which definition of the word we're using. We're constantly locked in either or. We're constantly like red or blue. We're constantly like always in battle. That's why we're at the tipping point of self-extincting our own species. Just when we've gotten to the point with the magical tools of global communication, lives on YouTube, live streams to many platforms, to all your social media audience, we can talk to intelligent professionals all over Africa. How many people in the US of hypocrisy take advantage of this? Or are they just making bucks? You do know paper currency doesn't need to survive this year. You do know we have the tech to completely give everyone enough money to keep the roof over their head. We can figure it all out later. Economics is not inherent on Earth. It's an academic principle. It's a series of theories. We can put all the PhDs off on Greenland, plenty of room there, nothing else for them to do, and they can figure out how to make up a new concept, one that doesn't favor the elite, one that doesn't say once you've got so much money, you're a demigod, and you're now a public persona, and what you say matters. Where the rest of the citizens going through all of the problems of life, of our government, of our economy, of the way corporations recruit and retain and treat workers. It's all based on faulty, flawed, inhumane thinking from the very start. They tried, sincerely tried. But how do you say all men? First of all, right off the bat, you're ignoring the part of humanity that guarantees there's more humans coming in the pipeline. That's a little bit more crucial, to be perfectly honest to you. I mean, sperm can be banked. Wombs cannot be. All right. Now, beyond that, of course, there was an image, a picture, a definition of men who only looked one way. And they couldn't even look Italian or Spanish, to be quite honest. Certainly not Greek. Certainly, this was not men to these founders of the US of hypocrisy. Forget about the global majority of humans. They weren't guaranteed rights in this country at the start. Genocides were happening left, right, and center, right alongside. That document might be, it's like the way everybody's life looks so bling on social media. Because they was genociding left, right, and center. They were owning slaves. We're owning humans. This is not okay. We can take the principles, we can update them to now the fact that we know for certain we are one species, and if we don't act like it, a COVID's taking us out. Because do not get it twisted. All this effort, all this media, COVID-19 is not the end. There's a COVID-20, it's a COVID-21, a COVID-22. And they're the lineage of the most successful virus ever. This is a subtle terminator of a virus. It's founder of hashtag Wellbeing Philosophy. I'm going to show you how logic works really easily. COVID-19 is not airborne. We'd be in a lot worse situation. I mean, our situation is dire. Most of the problem is the fact of the economic ruin that lockdown has produced in a civilization such as America, where you have to punch in a time clock. That's the only thing. Exchanging hours is the model that's still here, even though it's not the case. Humans deserve roofs over their heads, food in their belly, access to the internet, which is now a global human right. Let's not get that twisted. Anyone who is not internet enabled is not a global citizen. They are a citizen unto themselves without representation of any kind, without a way to make a stink about bad treatment, about knees on necks. If you don't have the internet, you don't have a voice. Shit. And talk about trolls, like the under the bridge kind, like the toll trolls, the ones who extort money from you in order to cross their bridge, their valley, their whatever. I'm bankrupt and on the verge of homelessness because I saw through Zuck at the very beginning. Facebook is a Ponzi motherfucking scheme. I think they might think they meant well at some point, maybe. I don't think he had any idea but he is not going to escape from his part in allowing democracy to almost disappear from the US. There needs to be a Crimes Against Humanity tribunal to assess the entire 45th administration and all of the ripples in all of our society. And enabling hate and keeping people like me from being able to earn a digital living. There is a lot to account for. Here's the basic truth. They've convinced you that you go to FB to be a human and stay connected with your friends. And that might be the case. But in all honesty, you go to be a human consuming. You are being marketed to as though that is the only purpose in your life is to keep companies respirating, keep the flow of money into these inhumane entities called corporations. It is definitely a raging day because thank you from the bottom of my heart to Biden and Harris for every way they stood against tyranny. Every single way. But here's the thing. They had to play the old game exceedingly well. And the people who know how to play the game aren't necessarily the right people to play the next game. If Michael Jordan can't figure out how to play baseball, you're good at what you become an expert at. And our society just throws money and red carpets at those who are experts in one thing. And that's all we're doing is bullying people. Pick one thing, pick a niche, market to your niche, market to one person really, really well, and you'll just make as much money as you want. Our society has stopped seeing the value in being a generalist, in being somebody who can think about anything and everything with logic plus love intertwined. That is my gift. And this is a style of improv that I'm developing that shows you your subconscious. You may not have any idea what I'm doing. I may sound like I'm going too fast. I'm not talking to you at the 5th grade level like I should be bullied into. I'm not sticking to one topic linearly. Well, that creates the chaos of our civilization. Pivoting and saying, how is this like this? I don't know. This is a brand new situation, COVID. Okay, where do I go think about this? How do I put my head around it? How do I understand? COVID is not airborne. We'd have had much, much, much more problems with it if it was. What it is encapsulated in biologic materials. So the salivas and the snots. Pretty uncomfortable to talk about. Apparently media doesn't want to put out information about snot and saliva, but we're not going to get anything twisted. Now here's the thing, the particles of this, they spew and they land on surfaces and they can stay viable on a variety of different surfaces. Cardboard, paper, metal, plastic. 1 to 3 days was the first, what I suspect, given different conditions, whether it's heat or cold. I don't know which one is worse, which one is better. We have a seasonality, but yet COVID really didn't get to the point when we labeled it a pandemic until right towards the end of the winter season last March. Even though it is definitely helped being spread, it's then spewing along with other bacterias and viruses that might be different modalities. You see, this is the thing, the complexity of how this might be occurring. Now, I'm not an anti-masker, but I'm going to tell you something about masks. They're not good enough. And our public health system knows this. I was talking to an epidemiologist and a doctor of infectious diseases on LinkedIn in my professional connections. And I have run this by both of them. And they both say, you know what? It's a better 1-2 punch if we start mandating gloves. We have to stop touching the surfaces with the viral viruses and then forgetting about it. And then the masks, what's making us touch our faces more. You have to adjust them. You're constantly adjusting them. Constantly touching surfaces all over the place. Have you thought about needing to disinfect your mail? It's viable on paper. Mail's coming from everywhere, from warehouses, your Amazon boxes, every single little surface. And at every point, the warehouse might be fine. It might just be the delivery driver. And the delivery driver might have been tested that very morning and picked it up by opening up a mailbox and sticking a small letter-sized package in that had just been opened up by a resident who forgot to check last night. The scenarios and the scenarios and the scenarios. Putting on gloves, finding out what kinds of gloves. Again, we're all wearing fabric masks. They don't seem to have been studied. The fabric is a weave. There's plenty of room. Virus particles are not visible. They're tiny, and you can see the weave of a fabric. Some fabrics are much denser, and the reason the black masks are so popular is the denser the fabric, the darker the fabric, the tighter the weave, and there's some there, right? You need to really think about what it is that you're trying to accomplish logically. We need public health officials to also be doing the 1-2 punch of mask and gloves. Why are gloves completely off of the public health agenda? My local store, which I go to basically only every 3 to 5 weeks. Same people, making, minimum wage, checking out our groceries, stocking our groceries, helping make sure pump your gas. That's all I do is go to the one complex of grocery store and gas station. They're all still working. They've not gotten sick. And they're all wearing gloves. Plastic gloves throughout their shift, handling the currencies and the credit cards and all of the items. Small, simple thinking experiments. Thought experiments. That's what Einstein is famous for, being so smart. Having a thought experiment about how does light and energy work, and if I'm moving, right? Special relativity of being a moving target. You see, there's just no way, if you're not wearing gloves, that you could possibly sanitize your hands time after time after time before you put your own hands to your own face. You're simply not getting sneezed on or coughed at. We're all way too hyper alert to that scenario, to not know about it, to not avoid it. Okay? It's the viable virus particles on stuff staying every hospital you're in, every communal place, it's nonstop. Now, this is not quackery. This is truth. And I can show you the preliminary, just about to be published study. One of my connections on LinkedIn, on a Caribbean island, she is a farmer. She has done environmental consulting for decades. She is a beekeeper, and her honey has been tested to diminish the virus, COVID. If you are a healthy person, not if you're immunocompromised, not if you are, it's not a cure. But honey and or salt swishes and or inhaling salt, neti pots, when you come back in from being in a group scenario, you can use antiviral natural substances, honey and salt, to get rid of any possible viruses that may have entered into your internal mucous membranes. Now, when they get down further, but if you're just going out to the store, if you're following everything, or if you're forced to go to work, use the honey. Use the salt swishes, salt gargle. Okay? With salt, we're not used to this, and we know the neti pot and the water. That's hard for those of us who didn't grow up on it. But there are what are called salt inhalers. And I'm going to go get mine because it's important. All right. Amazon will sell you one of these, 20 to 40 bucks. Salt inhaler. I mean, I just have a plain old, probably, yeah, the sticker came off. It's probably like thyme or oregano, one of my favorites that I use often. And it's Himalayan salt. And as you'll see, there's both really, really fine crystals up at the top, and then less finely ground salt, so that I can shake it and get it all sort of aerated. And this is all you do. Inhale through your mouth, exhale through your nose. Bring the salt so that the brand new circulating stuff in your entry passages are being coated with antiviral, antibacterial salt. I usually count to about 33. If I really do wonder if I've been out and might have caught something, 60, maybe even 30 minutes. Turn on a song or a meditation and do these inhales through your mouth and exhales through your nose. It's reverse of what we typically do. So you're really helping these tissues. It's great, actually. I mean, I did this. This had nothing to do with COVID. I've been doing this for years. I haven't had a cold since 2009. Now, I am a hermit, but I always needed to go out and get provisions. I would always go into public way far more than I've done over this period, and I didn't at those periods, just regular cold, wear the gloves when I was touching everything. Actually, probably more than anybody else, but I didn't make it a complete and utter rule. Read honey. Go out and find it, and if you care, you can connect with me on LinkedIn, and I will link you up with the connection whose honey has been studied by doctors, by a team of doctors, and written up in a paper. Honey is incredibly vital for humanity. And I had just seen a post on LinkedIn that bees have now been officially acknowledged as the most important species on planet Earth. Like, there won't be much left if we let the bees colonies collapse. Okay? We won't have plants for most mammals, right? We all worried about, our own food stuff. But if there's no bees, what do most animals eat? The grazers. And then if the herds that graze on the grass and the scrub and the dandelions, and if these go away, then the lions have nothing to eat. It's all one ecosystem. It's such an important point, which is why well-being philosophy is life-centric thinking. We're evolved as the pinnacle species of evolution so far as we know. The orcas may be giving us a run for our money, and we're just too dumb to understand how smart the orcas are. That could possibly be the case. It really could. Forget about Planet of the Apes at this point. This is something, and I might just go Google this, because I have not seen this. This is not bubbling to the surface. Are you all aware? Here's the context of why this is a very valid Google search to go do, and it might be scary, but you're here with me, and we'll think it through. But do you know that Denmark, cold country, Scandinavian country, had to call their entire population of mink because COVID transferred from humans to minks, and at least one documented case of COVID was transferred from minks to a human. They called all mink farms. Now here we are, all of us. Oh, the poor animals, the poor animals, the poor animals. And I'm not entirely sure we needed to get rid of all the animals. But we needed to do something. Just talk about the fact that it came from bats, and we all think bats is just some crazy thing. We forget they're even mammals. But COVID could be coming through many other mammal populations. COVID-19 itself may be affecting all mammals. So what I have never seen is somebody address how much we are monitoring COVID-19 in primates. So stay strong. We're going to the Google. Search the web. Has COVID-19 affected the primate population? That's a good one. So this is from nature.com, It's called Comparative ACE2 Variation and Primate COVID-19 Risk, October 27th, 2020. Infectious studies have shown that some primate species develop COVID-19-like symptoms. However, the susceptibility of most primates is unknown. Here we show that all apes and African and Asian monkeys exhibit the same set of 12 key amino acid residues as human ACE2. It was an older one from March, is about affecting the great apes. Smithsonian talks about. This was end of March and have yet to been detected in our closest living relatives, the great apes. Breaking news, we're the investigative journalists. I'm an investigative philosopher. That's improv for your ass. That's improv for your ass. I might be the she Socrates because I might have just invested investigative philosophy. Because god damn it, look what I just found. January 12th, 2021. And this is from Manga Bay. This I think is local, okay? 2 gorillas at San Diego Zoo in California have tested positive for. Okay, that was just the index. Let's read the whole thing. Okay, here's UC Davis. This is the one I want. I don't know what that other thing was. I think it was a local San Diego paper. Now here we go. Here we go. UC Davis, taking a long time. Manga Bay. I don't know what. I've never heard about this. Gorillas at San Diego Zoo in California have tested positive for COVID-19, the first cases of the novel coronavirus infecting great apes. Gorillas, chimpanzees, bonobos, and orangutans share more than 95% of the human genome and are known to be at risk from certain human diseases. Zoo authorities said an asymptomatic staff member might have infected the gorillas. The news is likely to send alarm bells ringing, especially in Africa, home to the only wild population of gorillas, chimpanzees, and bonobos. 2 have tested positive. 3 primates showed symptoms as of this week. They have not ruled out other troop members being infected. Gorillas at the zoo exhibited mild symptoms of the disease with congestion and coughing, but the true extent to which the disease might impact them is unknown. I'm actually surprised, this is a quote, said Fabian Liedendertz, a primate infectious disease ecologist at the Robert Koch Institute in Berlin. I am actually surprised it did not happen earlier, given how often the virus makes it into other well-protected areas, such as old people's homes. Now, it is important to see how severe the disease gets and how it spreads, but even if the disease remains rather mild, this does not mean that it will be the same for wild great apes, since there are many other factors are present, which, right, who knows, it's going in the wild. They're making a statement about the importance of proximity. It was Over the past year, sporadic reports of pet animals like cats and dogs catching the virus from humans have emerged. There's not enough research to pin down the risk to animals. However, there have been some high-profile outbreaks, with a wave of infections sweeping mink populations in Europe between April and June last year. Their ability to transmit the virus back to humans led to Denmark's decision to cull 17 million minks in November, a controversial decision that raised a global outcry. Okay, this is on news.mongabay.com. This is definitely. This looks like even though it's the first time I've met this website, it seems to be rather good. In April, a tiger at the Bronx Zoo contracted the disease, which was also believed to have been transmitted from an asymptomatic caretaker. Later, 7 more big cats, 4 tigers, and 3 lions also tested positive for COVID-19. San Diego Zoo has not had any visitors since December 6th. It had reopened in June last year. Now it's just statistics I'd said before, share 95% of the DNA and are susceptible to many of the same infectious respiratory diseases as humans. It will not be Planet of the Apes, y'all. This is what started this. It will not be Planet of the Apes. It will be Planet of the Orcas. We're going to take out terrestrial mammals if we don't figure out how to change our economic system and pay humans to stay the fuck in. And wipe out all mammalian species. I'm clearly paying attention to this. I didn't know it was in the cats. 4 lions and 3 tigers at the Bronx Zoo. That was in April. We remain very worried, especially given the fast-spreading variants of the virus from UK and South Africa. It's when people it's population density, and population density is about what we touch. Doorknobs and handles and railings and the myriad stuff that we've become addicted to that is very well not only the demise of our own species, but the rest of terrestrial mammals. I'm not at the point where I want to see if it's going to birds. Investigative philosopher, thinking logically about the ramifications of all this. I did bring up, let's go see what the UC Davis had to say. I bet they can't do any better than this article we just went to. Connections timed out. You can't even get to UC Davis. That's strange. CNPC is the UC Davis, yeah. Let's see. Let's just go on to page 2 of Google. It's right there for you. Has COVID-19 affected the population? So there's a lot of speculation from March. You know, go past those articles and come and see what's going on now. So the San Diego thing. Okay. How many mammals has COVID-19 affected? Animals with cancer more susceptible. Da, 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 da. Pets is all up at the top. I mean, I know it's... Science Mag, the pandemic stilled human activity. What did this do for... Yeah, that's very interesting. It's basically dogs and cats with mammals. And these are so much is just so much wrong in the heinousness of the 45th. Medical news today, October 8th. A new study has found that SARS-CoV could theoretically infect a large. Humans are not the only species affected by. There was a New York Times, which of course I won't be able to read. I'm not going to pay them. But it says, so far as of November 9th, mink are the only animals known to have passed the coronavirus to humans, except the bats. The public health experts worry that any species capable of infection will pass it to humans. It's very much. Okay, let's go see what this medical news today has to say. This how investigative philosophy works. This is how come I'm so smart. You got to be able to ask the right questions. And I've got to accept, I can't deny their fucking cookies. I have to accept it. Okay. A new study has found that COVID-19 could theoretically infect a large number of mammals. It appears in the journal Scientific Reports, identifies important animal species. Should be the focus of future real-world observations. Future! This John been at it for nearly a year. We're not watching for the animals. Oh, this is just, there's no data. Oh, no, sorry. Sorry, there's just some live town hall advertisement. Okay, to identify computer modeling being used to identify which species could be susceptible to the virus. So they're going on about the ACE2 proteins, the transmembrane serine protease, TMPRSS2. Broad range of vertebrate animals could, in principle, contact. In total, the researchers found evidence that 26 animal species that regularly come into contact with people may be susceptible to infection from COVID-19. In particular, they found that the binding process between the virus and the host ACE2 protein in sheep and great apes is likely to be as strong as it is in humans. Sheep are a particular concern given their prevalence in agricultural settings in many parts of the world. Study also found that here's a good sentence. Study also found that most fish, birds, and reptiles are unlikely to be susceptible to the virus. As I said, planet of the orcas. Yet the researchers stress this study does not demonstrate with certainty that these animals are susceptible to the virus. Rather, it suggests a significant likelihood, which warrants more detailed research. It most certainly does. And they use computer modeling. They're not really observing animals. And they mention the mink farms. What is there to know about COVID in pets? No, I do not want to stay informed. So far, there have only been 3 officially confirmed cases of pets with COVID infections worldwide. Hong Kong authorities reported 2 of these. They were both in dogs. The first official was a 17-year-old Pomeranian that tested weak positive. The dog did not, in fact, present any symptoms of the illness. The authorities kept the dog in quarantine for a few days, after which they released it to its owner. The dog has since died, but it's uncertain if its death had anything to do with the virus. The dog was a very advanced age, and the owner did not allow a necropsy. Second case reported in Hong Kong was that of a German Shepherd, whose owner submitted it for testing alongside another dog from the same household. The German Shepherd tested positive, the second dog did not, and neither canine exhibited any signs of being unwell. According to Hong Kong officials, both the Pomeranian and the German Shepherd likely contracted the virus from their owners who had tested positive. And cats. There's a third official report about an animal affected came from scientists at the University of Liège in Belgium. Detected viral COVID in the feces and vomit of a domestic cat. Cat also presented digestive and respiratory systems. Because the cat's owner had tested positive for COVID-19, it seems likely that this too was a case of human to animal transmission. There's ferrets and ducks, just sort of. All right. There we go. Investigative philosophy. I've been doing the it's not going to be Planet of the Apes bit, it's going to be Planet of the Orcas bit. My philosophical stand-up for quite some time. I'm certain of it. It's intuitively correct. Evolution is a process. Hurts so much to have so much valuable thinking capacity and have not a single human listening to me. I'm the goddamn Sherlock of human health. And a time when all of us, all 7.8 billion humans, are going through collective collaborative trauma, CTSD, current trauma, stress disorder. It ain't post, y'all. And it's not dying down. I mean, okay, we got a dictator away from running the US of hypocrisy, but it's still the US of hypocrisy. It's still just talking about masks, forgetting about gloves, still thinking there's some savior in the vaccine. There is not. We're going to end up having businesses mandate, I mean, this is already a headline on LinkedIn, that employees get vaccinated, forcing vaccination, forcing people. And we the concept of vaccination is not what I take any issue with. The implementation of vaccinations is what I take entire objection to, that we've sorted that all out well. You know, my main problem is one of my complex compounded words: interoperability. I can't join Clubhouse because I don't have an iPhone. So there's this new platform. It's supposed to be all about conversations and people hosting all these great conversations. And here I am talking to myself on YouTube Live. Can't get there. Don't have an iPhone. Don't want an iPhone. Couldn't possibly source an iPhone. Why can't I just use my MacBook? Nobody's going anywhere. Why do we need so many goddamn dumb phones? Riddle me that. Investigative philosophers. And then here are, they must have happened to have been mostly moms, saying, I'm certain I have observed regression in my child after a vaccine. And we started calling them lunatics when they're asking for more research. Why are we so against more research? Why do we want any kids to have lifelong effects of autism? Because the pro-vaxxers are the ones acting like religious dogmatists. There's a valid question here. And when it comes to the vaccine, the human body is dealing with so much stress and environmental pollutants and toxins. It is not far-fetched to say that we need to establish some sort of baseline health. I don't know what it is. I mean, we're probably not the immune system. It's probably, again, bioelectricity driven. If you got all this inflammation and your body is struggling with homeodynamic balance, you're not a good candidate for being vaccinated. Your body's not optimal enough to do with the vaccine, what it needs, and all the adjuvants, the sort of bits that go turn down your immune system. Well, what if you're fighting off just down the other thing? I'm hoping they've done that research, but I don't hear them bringing it up. The scientists. I hear them all down in the details of this protein variant and the serovars, and in a full live human, nutritional, right? Again, so many of these kids are not, the failure to thrive. They don't seem to be able to process nutrients from food. Now, is it the fact that the food is all glyphosate poisoned? Is it, just lack of minerals in the soil? But it seems like many of these kids simply cannot extract even the levels of appropriate nutrients that are present. If your body's not dealing well with food, you really shouldn't be vaccinated. There are logical ways to think through this either or of anti-vax or pro-vax. I'm neither one. I'm an investigative philosopher going, here's both sides, and all the one side wants is more research. And they're over here saying, but that has been sent down written on a tablet from Mount Arafat. Just take the vaccine, damn it. And don't tell us anything that has gone wrong. We don't want to hear it. That's your imagination. This side, the pro-vaccine side, are the ones acting like ignorant fools. But somehow, some way, they've twisted it around. Now, I don't know what press release you're going off of in your own opinions. I don't really know much about any popular media. This is pure thinking. I don't know what's gotten us to this vaccine place. It's all the power of logical, deductive reasoning that can bring me to this place of saying what the core issue is that science has got to address is interoperability. So I've established again the either or of the two sides. My big concern, so again, about the interoperability just of your body. Are you in a state where you're not even nutritionally optimized? Your body can't extract all the nutrients in food. It's probably not going to be in a state of dealing with this intense stimulus of a vaccine. This is my subconscious. My subconscious is brilliant. My body will tell my mind what to say about homodynamic balance. So I said it's probably not the immune system. They probably could have occasionally smart enough to go, yeah, well, if you're actively having a cold, hopefully they don't vaccinate. Although they might, just because they might. I might be giving them too much credit. But the interoperability is both in that your body has more than just an immune system. It has other systems, and if some of those other systems are being challenged, like your bioelectricity, it's not a good time for it. But even more forward than that, what interoperability means to me is we're giving kids multiple vaccines to save time and money for doctors and working parents. Moderna and Pfizer. Moderna and Pfizer are competitors, and they are not sharing. And they are not interoperability testing. So again, why is it not already on Android that Clubhouse is taken off? Interoperability. And this is mostly, free source, open source, cloud-based, don't be mean, just be kind companies. Somehow, some way, it's not it's not interacting well. So the vaccine in and of itself has been tested. You don't go fall over dead from a toxic response. But what else might be happening in your body, mind? Super stressed, grieving for a dying loved one who imagining their last days when you couldn't go be with them. Person in severe grief might not be able to fully put their body's resources on processing this intense stimulus of giving you just enough of COVID to ignite your body's immune system. These are rational questions. Why does our society in the US of hypocrisy immediately start throwing around labels like quack? Every single one of these quack watch types, they're like disciples to some cult leader. Science keeps asking questions. Science is always progressing. Science is always evolving. Science is like, well, the state of the art of the vaccines in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. Humans right now are entirely different. What has happened over the last 20 years electromagnetically is changing humanity. We are adapting. And then there's the constant chemical load. Then there's the unrepentant stress. Then there's the racism, the sexism, the genderism, that you don't have a college educationism, that you have lifelong debt for a college educationism. We have made the game of life nearly impossible for any human who hasn't been lucky enough to have exorbitant wealth at their disposal. For them people, everything is about getting them people to spend their money. And then they just keep making more money. Because their eyes are on how do I get all these people to spend money? And how do I make them feel stupid if they don't spend money on a vaccine? If they want to question, they want to say, give me more data. Now, what you need to know beyond: wear gloves and time your vaccine when you're as healthy as you possibly can be, given how much you need it. If you're a frontline essential worker, you're a medical worker, you're going to, of course, volunteer right here now. You're on the front lines. What if you can just shelter in place in your own home for a while? Chill out. Let all the people who truly need it. I mean, we're having supply chain distribution problems anyway. And then if you get sick, let your body get back to normal. If you're in full-on grief from losing your favorite aunt, give your body a few weeks, a month, if your job doesn't demand it. What's going to happen, and jobs are going to start demanding it, and they're going to start wanting people back in cubicles. I'm not okay with that. You know why our situation is so brutal to human life? Capitalism is only the successful economic system because it stole labor right from the very start. $15 an hour is indentured servitude. You're getting $15 an hour, but it takes a minimum of $40 an hour to be a dignified adult in any major city in the US. Rent an apartment, pay for a garage for your car. The gap is bigger than how much people make. You can't rectify that $25 by driving an Uber without ever going to sleep. We can't let anyone pay less than an official city index says. This is what it takes for an adult to maintain their own residence. We can't keep letting homelessness be the actual economic product of capitalism. You gotta rearrange all this shit. Give people a livable wage. UBI, 100% behind it, I am. Why the fuck not? Why is it, what, who's, who's debating these things? Who's debating that kids are getting sick and if vaccinations appear anywhere in the mix, we do more research about it? Who are the cheap-ass motherfuckers not continuing to say the state of the art of vaccines is always evolving and we have to keep doing research on them? And we can't combine them willy-nilly. And we have to make sure we understand completely if there are other systems in the body, unrelated, that have to be at this threshold of health. Does your blood pressure need to be here? And this is big data, y'all. Multiple data points. Assess that the body is healthy enough to withstand the intense stimulus of a vaccination. This fifth grade logic, by the way. That's what's fucking wrong. I'm sitting over here getting all this flack for speaking at too high a level. Make it simple for people. Make it so they can read it on this tiny little screen. That's the only way you're going to make money in 2021. Is dumb yourself fucking down to dumb phone size screen. We're going to self-goddamn extinct. Not just our own species, all terrestrial mammals appear to be in jeopardy. Nature will rebound, but they're going to have a hell of a time. All of our machines and all of our the satellites all up there beaming down 5G. If we just go poof, who's going to turn that shit off? Them shit's going to come crashing down. What's going to happen? You know, Harris and Biden got legions of science advisors. Do they have a philosopher in residence? They need me. I don't know how to get the right. I can't keep playing down here under the radar. The process of evaluating a new perspective and thinking it through and researching it and finding out. I'm pretty sure this just happened in January. great apes at the San Diego Zoo. It's like I intuited it. I didn't go searching for it too early and sort of establish this perception that it's not going to other mammals. I held on to that. I held on to it. Knowing that the chaos of the 45th administration, the financial, what's going to happen? Nobody's really going to be monitoring the great ape population. And how did it not spread? 4 lions and 3 tigers at the Bronx Zoo. That's the algorithms for y'all. The Ponzi scheme of it all. Just get more stuff like what you already searched for. And what needs to happen is you're constantly getting new sources of information so you can keep triangulating what it is you know. You have this hypothesis, and you gotta let it marinate. This is the key thing about what I feel people aren't getting in the process of how I present my improvs and my Socratic monologues. Letting it unfold real time on purpose, so that there's more of a public access to a really astute thinking process of somebody who's willing to be as wrong as a wrong could be. I'll sit down and debate this out, Socratic dialogue. Again, I've just recently seen that there's anti-vax propaganda coming from the red side of the fence, and I'm not down with that. So I can't really just be controversial and contrarian, and that's not what I'm really about. I am controversial and contrarian. The things that I know in my heart, I believe I have the data and the validity of philosophical premise assessment to go disprove. I don't say shit I don't think is true. So if that phrase has now been toxified, and it has, I'm tough loving vaccines. I'm saying they got to do better, be better, work harder, give us more robust, holistic research. I guarantee they are harming people. Just like there are great apes in San Diego having caught COVID. Let's see what happens to the rest of the troop. Let's see how many die. And what happens in a domestic population won't really give us good information about what's happening in the wild. So, let's say the mountain gorillas in Rwanda. Tourism is way the fuck down. So that's probably pretty good. Let's say it's 2023. And humanity is pretty much moved past it. Do we then start giving it to wild populations? And wild populations, some are being monitored, but we're not going to know about it until there starts being death after death after death. We're just not. We can't COVID test Americans. How are we going to COVID test wildlife in Africa? Africa was doing better than us. Maybe they, but nonetheless. So what would I do about all this? I'll wrap this all up. The philosophical hypothesis of bioelectricity, because I'm not scared of getting COVID. If I get it, my body will be able to process it and will move on more robustly. I've got tools and strategies for prevention. But if it does occur, since my body is so bioelectrically optimized, we will be able to defeat the disease. And that's the state that we have to do for all terrestrial mammals, is get rid of all of the stress and the chemical pollution and the poor monoculture ecosystem practices and the desertification that's caused by, cutting down trees to build houses. That's so last millennium. And we can use all of this waste, right? Wine bottle wall houses and stuck together with mud huts have been working for our species for millennia. Time to bring it back. Making dried sawed bricks and things like that. So important. Optimizing our bioelectricity. Seeing ourselves as beings of frequency, not static stuff, but constantly vibrating cells, working in civilization level organization in our bodies. This is the model of how to organize our actual civilization. Just got a connection request from a blockchain expert in Johannesburg. I read one of his posts. He's trying to explain blockchain to kids, had a little fable going on. I didn't quite get it. Come back and see what I can do and help him go, I blockchain myself. I can help you explain it to kids. I'm a human blockchainer. Distributed ledger is something kids can get. I mean, this is how social proof works. It's really, the human level blockchaining is social proof. It's, okay, well, I see her. She's not full of hate. She doesn't appear to be greedy. She says she's going to create a strategic collaboration and people will help her. Subscribe to my YouTube channel, etc., etc., etc. Get others to subscribe, mention me, send some of my videos. This creates value. And keeping a record of this value, like as in the art that humans create, that's a place where art, the expression of an individual's life force, can be a currency. Governments demand, say, military service and pay a wage. Why can't a government say every kid born gets this amount of money for their basic, food and shelter and whatever, and the kids do 2 years public service or 3 years public service. We'll feed you for 20 years, and then we're going to ask for you to pick 1 2-year slot in your 20s. Any slot you want. If you're really into your stuff early, you can do it later. You can make your monies and then do your service. If you ain't got nothing going on, you do your service right up front. That is a great model to have Helfrich. I'll go schedule a Zoom with my new friend. Instead of only using charity for disaster relief, Let's prevent disaster. Let's create a system where you go, here's digital money to feed this child, clothe this child. And then the child pays it back in civil service going forward to make sure that they figure out how to keep paying food and clothing for the rest of the child's. Now, of course, this digital money, D-money, stop calling it cryptocurrency, because crypt means death to most people, not cryptography. Right there in there, it's an elitist concept. I know I'm complex, but these motherfuckers, they did it on purpose so that people just like, well, I can't understand it. It's a challenging name. D-money just happens to be digital money. Simple as that. D-money, D-money, D-money. And I heard some of y'all futzing around, well, you're going to give the D-money to feed and clothe the kid to an adult, and they're going to spend it on booze. There's always what the. Oh, we also got to subsequently figure out how to give adults a livable wage for themselves to keep the house, the shelter, and the electricity on. Give people the dignity of working for money, and they will. Crimes and criminals are only created because there aren't enough jobs to go around that pay for a dignified life. That's the problem. Capitalism is the fundamental problem that humanity has to solve. Stop forcing labor. Stop devaluing labor. Stop demeaning the intelligence of every adult. Stop believing people are criminals until they prove that they're wealthy. Wealthy like the most heinous kinds of criminals they is. 45, rest that case. Peace, love, harmony, y'all. This has been Deb Helfrich, hashtag Redheaded She-Hulk. This has been a hashtag Wellbeing Philosophy Institute lecture. I'm seeking patrons and funding, and this is abundance incarnate. I can go on about things like this forever. Hours and hours and hours. It make you smarter. It's an intellectual boot camp. This most certainly is. Harmony, y'all.